Stuart, can you talk about the need to grow?
Well, yes, it's a very important subject, Jennifer, because it's something that people overlook inside themselves. There's the need to eat, the need to make money, the need to have a place to live, have clothing. There are many, many needs that people have. And people get swallowed up by needs on a horizontal level. And they forget, that a need to be with God, a need to have a spiritual life requires transcendence. It requires building an inner life that is strong enough to do it. And, look, there are a lot of illusions in life and a lot of things that human beings substitute for a spiritual life. And I think in the substitution of things on a horizontal level, they forget that you can have all these things and there's no need for them to stop you from getting closer to God if the need is real inside you to have a spiritual life. That means you will work through any situation, good, bad, indifferent, ugly, whatever happens, you'll find a pathway through it that'll, get you connected to spirit and continue the growth process inside you, because your need will then combine with your will to do it, the will to overcome obstacles, to overcome the tests, the blocks that take place in a human being's life. And I think, to me, uh, it's the single most important thing that has to go on in a human being, that hunger to grow and to truly get to God. It makes everything else possible. You understand? Look, every situation in your life and my life is a manifestation of higher energy. And if we grow in life, we are provided whatever we need to be provided with in order to work out our karma. And a lot of it is based on, what people think they need to be provided with is a lot of greed, it's totally unnecessary. Except people have this need to have abundance and wealth and this and that. And, honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. I've had that in my life, you know, and there's nothing wrong with it as long as you continue to work in yourself and grow and to get to a higher place of consciousness. And it doesn't become God. Money is God in the lives of many people that live here, most people, rich, poor, and everybody in between. Money is like a god. And people in their own strange way worship it. No, I'm not saying we shouldn't have that. We should. Makes life better. We can live in a more decent way. But at the same time, it's not the end of inner growth. It's not the end of that need to have a spiritual life, which transcends everything. Because ultimately, anything lower than that, we got to let go of anyway. Ultimately, everybody has to leave the world, and whatever we possess, it's gone. So we substitute finite need for a need to be with the infinite, a need to have a spiritual life. And the need to have a spiritual life will not eliminate a nice place to live, money, clothing, friends, social stuff. It doesn't eliminate any of that. It just gives us the ability to continue to grow inside ourselves and to make choices that allow that growth to take place. People talk, you got to be a vegetarian, a sannyasa, a celibate, a this, or that. I don't really cut into any of that stuff, You don't have to be anything but a child of God. And the wonderful thing about being a child of God is that, the whole universe manifests the energy of God. So we become a disciple of life,
Mhm.
all of life. But how do you get there unless the need is real in you to get there? I mean, look, I go out to different places, lately, not a lot, but I go out and you see people and it's scary, because you can see how beaten down they are inside themselves. And a lifetime of the mind going crazy, the emotions going crazy, the fear, the insecurity, it completely takes people apart physically. And you see it in people as they get older. But that need to grow sustains the youth inside a human being. It really does, because to do this, to have that need and to apply that need and your will to do it inside, it means you got to connect with what's infinite in the universe. There's no limitation to that energy. It keeps you young inside. I mean, I saw with my family as people got older and what happened, and it was heartbreaking, to see people that I was close to grow and just being taken apart by life. And they have no understanding why, but life just takes them apart. And they don't use what's available in the world to tap that need to get closer to God by building a system inside, not just by reading books and intellectual understand, but truly building a system inside ourselves that is strong enough to do what I'm talking about. You become a child of God. And it's based on need. It really is. Not everybody living on the planet Earth needs to be spiritually enlightened. Ultimately, they all do, you know, but it might be 100 lifetimes down the road. And we're not here to judge anybody. Give people the room to find their path. It could take 100 lifetimes of coming back and going through this, suffering and difficulty and pain and, you know, physical and mental and emotional and blah, 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 until they finally say, well, there's got to be something else than just constantly going through this stuff, that almost takes one nowhere. Then life changes
Mhm.
because the need is applied to growing spiritually instead of to making money and to this and, family and this and that and all this stuff, which is okay as long as you're growing spiritually. And people are starting to come to class. Maybe. Anyway, I hope you understand what I'm talking about. I'm not against family. Flora, the class started an hour ago. The time change in Europe, it's an hour earlier. Okay, it's all right, dear. Just do your meditation. You love you anyway, dear, even if you're an hour late. So what I'm saying is it's not a matter of not having all these things, but it's also a matter of understanding that you can't get emotionally strung out because the people in your life are not doing spiritual practice. Can't, because they'll cripple you. I mean, I grew up in a family where there's nobody. I was the black sheep of the family because I wanted to have a spiritual life. I really was. But it was a constant reminder to me that I needed to grow, and it never kept me from loving them and my mother, my father, my sister, but it wasn't going to interfere with my connection to God. That's because the need was there. You understand? At the same time, you can nurture people and love them and get big enough to love them, whatever goes on, whatever they do. And God knows what people do. So it's that need which is essential if one is going to have a spiritual life, because that keeps you working on yourself, not accepting anything less than a connection with higher energy in the universe as the ultimate goal of life. And then you have so much energy that your children, your parents, you can love them. No problem. They're not making you crazy because they do crazy things. You're sound, balanced inside. You're centered, and you can love them unconditionally. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I have just a few announcements. Today was daylight. The clocks went back in Europe and Israel, and so I guess a lot of people are not here because of that. Next week, next Sunday, the clocks go back here. And so class will actually go back to the original time, I think. I don't like to think, but I think it'll, it'll go back to where it was, I think it's 6 hours in Europe and 7 or 8 hours in Israel. I don't know, but it'll go back to the original time. But you can just check on Google what time it is, and it'll tell you exactly what the time is. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I mean, you have to have an incredible inner strength to love the people that are closest to you. Because when you're really close to people, you see everything about them. And there's a lot of stuff people do that are annoying, even if there are children or parents, they do annoying stuff. But to love them unconditionally, we have to be developed inside. We have to have real balance, foundation, connection with spirit, gives us the strength and the power inside to love people unconditionally. Because nobody in this world, I don't care who they are, is going to fit into our idea of the way they're supposed to live. Nobody. And everybody, because of that, is really, an agent of God teaching us how to grow. Instead of teaching us how to get upset and angry with them, and how to grow and get strong enough to love them anyway.
Stuart, my question is, how about to find somebody to live with?
How is about what?
If we find somebody we are in love with, and they don't meditate, and they don't work with, and they have so much
Love
things
them anyway. Let them be themselves, their own lives. You understand? Not everybody was born here to meditate.
But they don't work with themselves, and it's difficult to live with them.
Well, look, let me tell you something, Flora. 98% of the human race doesn't do anything about themselves.
90, okay.
98%. Maybe I'm even lowballing it here. doesn't do anything about themselves, doesn't really work on themselves. And people get close to us. We have relationships, we have family. We have to get strong enough to love them anyway.
Wow.
It's a big job to fall in love with somebody. I mean it, because they're
Yes.
not going to bring their baggage.
Yes.
They have their baggage.
I know.
And if
Very
you
good.
fall in love with somebody, you're going to have to deal with their baggage. Means you got to get very big inside. You have to grow and not allow their baggage to ever interfere with your connection to God. That's the only way you're going to be able to truly love them unconditionally.
But what when they
If
yes, if you can have,
if you'll
I can,
pardon my Bronxese, a pain in the ass, and they start yelling and dictating with you, then that they want you to live a certain way and you're not doing. I once told somebody who's sitting in this class, God created marriage and God created divorce.
okay. But another way is they don't say you can't meditate, you can do the way you are doing, but they manipulate maybe. I don't know how, but simple, I can live him alone. I couldn't do meditation like I did before.
Well, you have a right to say no. I have a life. You have a life. I have a life. This is what I do. This meditation has basically, truthfully, when I see you today, Flora, it saved your life.
Yes.
It really did. Now, if somebody wants to stop you from doing it, you have the right to say, no,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I accept you, you accept me.
But what if I am not so strong?
Well, get stronger, dear. And that person is very good for you because they're going to make you stronger.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
And
Thank you.
also, if they no, you got to do what I want you to do, Bubba, you don't need, who needs that in their life? Nobody. Better to be alone and open and grow and find somebody who you can, yes, it's wonderful. Let me tell you something. This is a true story, okay? I must have had 100 students when they came to me in my life. They couldn't have relationships. They didn't know how to make money. They were, living on, and I would have women that would study with me. And I'm telling you, in 6 months to a year, they became beautiful. And men would fall in love with them. Men would fall in love with them. And they get, relationship. And then the men would become jealous of me because they would spend so much time coming to, and if it wasn't for the classes that I was teaching them, those relationships would have never happened.
Yeah.
So the woman was put in a position, do I go to Stuart or do I have to? Most of them broke away.
Walk away.
Yeah, because their need for a spiritual life, their need to have a relationship was stronger than their need for a spiritual life, or to grow because of that person, where they could get big enough to do both.
Yes.
I'm telling you, I must be 100 people like that in my life. I've had come through my life. They get beautiful, they became beautiful. The women became drop dead beautiful. And when you first came, you wouldn't even look at them. They were so twisted and torn inside. And men fell in love with them. They got jealous of me.
Yes, I can feel that it's maybe the same situation.
I mean,
He
and I
doesn't.
used to laugh. The whole thing was ridiculous to me, But I said, it's your life. Do what you got to do. It's not my business to tell you this or that or whatever. I do what I do.
See, I have to get the work with myself to be stronger with man. I know that. I get the answer in
And
my
that
side.
man is, if you see him as an agent of God teaching you how to get stronger, no matter what he does, you'll be grateful until you get to where he's just trespassing to the point where, no, this doesn't work, or he really accepts the fact that you're working on yourself, you're growing, you love him, you know?
You know, I walk away from him, but I get back because his family talk to me and everything. No, I'm very insecure.
It'll work itself out, I promise you.
Okay. I know. One way I know.
Well, I got to go on to other people, Flora. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Send me strong energy, please.
Well, look at you. When you first came here, dear, you were a mess. And look how clear you are and how beautiful you become.
Thank you for that. But God is trying work harder than me now.
Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, also, just finally, I've been doing this thing on my website about Tantra, and I think some of these things I've been writing are really pretty interesting. And I would suggest going there if you haven't been there, reading them. Might give you a new perspective about the meditation being taught here. But some of them are just, they're really powerful and very beautiful, and I'm enjoying doing this. And I would hope that you all go there and you have friends you can send there, and, people get a deeper idea of what this is about, So, there's 3 of them now that I've written on Tantra, plus a bunch of others, this thing called posts. And Bob Sink did a wonderful job of upgrading my website. He really did. It's so nice now. Very beautiful, very simple and easy to navigate. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? So I'm just saying, take this with you. Love your families, get big enough to accept the divergence in family, the divergence in life, the divergence of the people that are at your jobs and the businesses you run. And everybody's different and everybody has a singular purpose, and that's to teach us how to get closer to God. You just have to be able to have that need. So God bless you all. And there'll be a class on Tuesday, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. Bless you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you. God bless you too.
Thank you very much, Stuart.